Hello everyone, welcome to today's story. A peaceful morning, a gentle breeze, and Alex carrying a secret gift for Lytuna. But at the very moment he arrives at her farm, a stranger in an impeccable suit walks out of her house. Who is this man? Why was he inside Lytuna's home? Could this be the shadow threatening to shatter a fragile love that has only just begun? Will Alex trust Lytuna's explanation, or will suspicion slowly poison the bond between them? And when he finally places a kiss on her forehead, does it mean a promise of love, or just a fleeting impulse? Every glance, every silence, every unanswered question pulls this story deeper into the unknown. Stay until the very end, because the truth is hidden not in loud confessions, but in whispers, hesitation, and choices that change everything. And dear friends, we are on the journey to reach 1,000 followers. If you enjoy these heartfelt, dramatic stories, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell, so you won't miss the next twist, the next secret, the next heartbeat in this love story. Do you believe Alex and Lytuna's love can survive this test, or is danger quietly waiting just beyond the gate? The morning unfolded with a delicate stillness, sunlight filtering softly through tall windows, painting golden lines across the papers spread out before Alex. Numbers, contracts, and export files filled the table, yet his concentration faltered. He held his pen as though it weighed more than the stacks of documents. His mind drifted elsewhere, to a quiet farm, to a gentle face, to a child's laughter that had nothing to do with balance sheets. The door opened without noise, and his mother entered, her presence calm but piercing. She sat beside him, eyes warm yet searching, as if she could read the disquiet he thought he had hidden. "Son," she whispered, "work keeps you busy, but something else has taken root in your heart, hasn't it?" Her voice was not an accusation, but a soft unveiling of what he dared not confess. Alex smiled faintly, putting aside the papers. For a brief moment he let go of the walls around his heart. They spoke quietly until she mentioned Lytuna and little Henry, her eyes glimmering with both tenderness and curiosity. The names alone made Alex's chest tighten with a mixture of longing and fear. With sudden clarity, he declared his plan. He would visit the old carpentry workshop, tie up loose ends, and then drive to the farm. But this was no ordinary visit. Today, he carried a gift, a small device that meant far more than its size. A phone, yes, but also a promise that no matter where business took him, a voice, a connection, a presence could be kept alive. The decision stirred something resolute within him. He rose from the chair, his heart beating in sync with the quiet certainty that today would change everything. The old carpentry workshop stood like a monument to forgotten days, its rusted hinges groaning as Alex pushed open the heavy door. Dust swirled in the shafts of morning light, settling over shelves lined with scraps of wood, each piece holding silent stories of hands that once shaped them. The air carried the faint scent of sawdust, as though time itself had lingered here. Alex walked slowly, his footsteps echoing across the empty floor. The space was quiet, yet his mind filled it with memories. Men at work, the hum of machines, the rhythm of production that had once defined his family's pride. Now it was hollow, waiting to be repurposed. He touched a beam, rough beneath his fingertips, and wondered how easily glories fade when not tended. A thought came, clear and practical. His friend, a partner of many years, had been searching for a place like this. Without hesitation, Alex pulled out his phone, his voice steady when the line connected. "I've found the workshop you need. It's yours if you want it." The reply was immediate, enthusiastic, full of gratitude. Trust built over years made negotiation unnecessary. In that single call, the weight of the unused workshop lifted from Alex's shoulders. Closing the door behind him, he exhaled deeply. Another burden resolved, another thread untangled from the fabric of his obligations. For the first time in weeks, his heart felt lighter, freer. He turned toward the sunlight, toward the road that led away from dust and into the open fields. Ahead of him waited something far more fragile and vital than contracts: the uncertain warmth of a woman's smile and the innocence of a child's trust. The road stretched before him like a ribbon of quiet promise, winding through fields that shimmered beneath the morning sun. Alex drove with the windows lowered, letting the scent of wildflowers drift into the car, carried by a breeze that seemed to hum with life. Along the edges, rice paddies rippled in green waves, and in the distance, farmers bent to their patient labor. It was a landscape untouched by hurry, the opposite of everything he knew in the city. His thoughts slipped free from the weight of ledgers and meetings. They reached instead for the vision of Lytuna, her calm presence lingering in his memory, and of Henry, whose innocence stirred something unspoken in him. Alex's chest tightened, not with anxiety this time, but with a longing that felt almost sacred. Instinctively, his hand touched the pocket where a small box rested. Inside lay the gift, a simple phone, ordinary to anyone else, but carrying within it his desire to stay close, to bridge the distances his work so often created. It was more than technology. It was his way of telling her she mattered beyond convenience, beyond fleeting visits. The village road narrowed, lined with trees whose branches swayed gently as though bowing him forward. Each turn brought him closer. Each mile stoked his anticipation. He whispered silently to himself, half prayer, half hope, that today he could step beyond caution, beyond doubt, and into something truer. He smiled, unaware of the storm waiting just beyond the gate, convinced that peace and warmth lay ahead. The fields bore witness to his faith, glowing brighter under the sun, as if the world itself conspired to promise him a gentle day. The car slowed as the familiar outline of the farm appeared, framed by tall trees whose branches shivered under a passing breeze. Alex inhaled deeply, steadying himself for the moment he had long anticipated. Yet, as his feet touched the gravel path, everything within him froze. There, framed by the soft morning light, was a man he had never seen before. The stranger emerged from Lytuna's house with measured steps, his suit pressed to perfection. A leather briefcase swinging at his side. His demeanor was calm, almost courteous, yet his very presence felt like an intrusion into a sacred space Alex had quietly claimed in his heart. The world around him blurred, the flutter of birds, the rustle of leaves, reduced to a dull silence as his pulse thundered in his ears. Questions erupted within him like a storm breaking loose. Who is this man? Why is he leaving her home? What bond do they share that I never knew? Each thought was a dagger, slicing at the fragile hope he carried. For the first time, the gift in his pocket felt insignificant, almost naive. The man passed through the garden gate without so much as a glance, vanishing down the road with the air of someone who belonged. Alex remained rooted in place, his body heavy, as though caught in invisible rain. The peace he had imagined shattered, replaced by jealousy's sharp edge and fear's suffocating grip. With an effort, he forced himself forward, each step weighed with suspicion. His lips pressed tightly, he whispered her name, calling into the house. It was not just a summons, it was the first plea of a heart desperate for answers. The door creaked open, and Lytuna appeared, carrying the quiet fatigue of early hours, but also a smile that reached her eyes. She greeted him with warmth, as if nothing in the world could be amiss. She led him to the familiar bamboo table in the courtyard, a place that had so often held their conversations. A glass of water was set gently before him, its surface trembling under his unsteady hands. But Alex's gaze did not rest on her. It lingered on the garden gate, where the man had disappeared only moments ago. The silence between them thickened until he could no longer bear it. In a voice low, almost breaking, he asked, "That man who just left, who was he, Lytuna?" Her eyes widened briefly in surprise, then softened into a smile, both tender and assuring. "He's someone who once helped me," she replied gently. "When I was in trouble, he guided me to Madame Tang's house. Nothing more, just a benefactor." Her words, simple yet sincere, fell like drops of rain on the wildfire raging inside him. Alex exhaled, the storm in his chest easing though not entirely gone. Relief mingled with shame for doubting her. He forced a small smile, nodding slowly. "If he helped you, perhaps he deserved to stay for lunch." Lytuna's laughter was light, touched with honesty. "I would have asked him, but he had to leave for work." The courtyard, once a battleground of unspoken fears, began to breathe again with the chirping of birds and the rustling of trees. Yet, somewhere deep within Alex, a faint shadow remained. A reminder that trust, once shaken, takes time to mend. Tuna's voice softened as she rose, her hand brushing gently against the doorframe. "Henry is inside," she whispered. "If you'd like, we can see him, but quietly, he's still asleep." Alex followed, his steps tentative, as though entering a sanctuary. The room was bathed in muted light, filtered through thin curtains that swayed gently with the breeze. There, in a small wooden bed, Henry slept. His chest rose and fell with steady rhythm, each breath a fragile melody of innocence. His tiny hand curled loosely against the blanket, his face untroubled by the storms of the world. Alex stood motionless, watching. The weight of ledgers, the suspicion that had clawed at him moments before, the noise of his own doubts, all of it dissolved in the presence of this child's stillness. A tenderness he had never fully acknowledged welled up inside him, surprising in its depth. The urge was not just affection, but a vow, a silent desire to protect this boy from the uncertainties that had shadowed his own life. Beside him, Lytuna observed in silence. She saw how his expression shifted, the hardness leaving his eyes, replaced by something gentler, almost luminous. Her heart trembled at the sight, for this was not the Alex of business and restraint, but a man stripped bare of pretense. She felt the flicker of warmth within her, though guarded still by the scars of her past. Together they stood at the bedside, bound not by words, but by the quiet gravity of the moment. For in Henry's sleep they glimpsed a fragile possibility, a family drawn together not by blood, but by choice and yearning. The silence stretched, delicate and tender, until Alex reached into his pocket. His hand trembled slightly as he drew out a small box, placing it carefully into Tuna's palms. "Close your eyes," he murmured. She hesitated, lashes quivering, before yielding to his request. The room seemed to hold its breath. When she opened them again, a simple phone rested in her hands, its surface gleaming faintly in the dim light. Surprise widened her gaze, quickly chased by emotion she could not mask. "Why? Why would you give me this?" she asked softly, almost afraid of the answer. Alex's smile was warm, steady, carrying more truth than he had ever spoken aloud. "So, I can hear your voice," he whispered, "even when I'm far away, so I'll know you and Henry are safe." His words were not grand, but they pressed against her heart with undeniable weight. Her cheeks flushed, she lowered her eyes, caught between gratitude and the fragile stirrings of something deeper. Time itself seemed to falter, as if unwilling to intrude upon the fragile spell. Then Alex leaned closer, his lips brushing her forehead in a kiss both reverent and restrained. It was no rush of passion but a vow, silent and steadfast. Tuna trembled, lifting her gaze to meet his. In his eyes she saw no distance, no coldness, only a sincerity that unsettled and steadied her at once. For a heartbeat, the world was quiet, as though they stood on the edge of a promise yet to be spoken. Later, as Alex walked away, his hand tightened around the small box in his pocket, the diamond ring still waiting, still untold. The horizon burned crimson with sunset, a reminder that even love, delicate as it was, must first endure its trials.
Một buổi sáng yên bình, Alex rời biệt thự và kế hoạch ghé xưởng mộc cũ mang quà đặc biệt đến trang trại Tử Na. Trên đường anh tràn đầy niềm vui mong chờ, tin rằng hôm nay thật ý nghĩa. Nhưng khi vừa đến cổng, Alex sững sờ khi thấy người đàn ông lạ ăn mặc sang trọng từ trong nhà Tử Na bước ra. Ghen tuông trở nên nghi ngờ bùng lên, hàng câu hỏi giằng xé trái tim anh. Tử Na giải thích đó chỉ là ân nhân từng giúp đỡ cô, khiến Alex dần bình tâm. Trong những khoảnh khắc lặng lẽ, Alex ngắm nhìn Henry đang ngủ, một cảm nhận khát vọng bảo vệ. Anh trao Tử Na chiếc điện thoại cùng nụ hôn nhẹ trên trán và những kim cương chưa kịp trao cho cô.